back to a brand new episode of Now Showing with
Jon
and Cam. And today is one of our news flash episodes, of course, where we cover the latest news over the last week or so in all of pop culture. So without further ado, let's get it started. So our first batch of news comes from the supernatural realm, or at least I should say the supernatural realm of television. And of course I'm talking about the show Supernatural, which is in its 15th and final season currently. It happens to be this guy and my favorite show that's on television right now, and for me, all time. And unfortunately, this isn't great news coming out. It's not someone facing their demons on the screen, but more so maybe facing some demons off the screen, because one of the main co-stars, Jared Padalecki, who plays Sam on Supernatural, was arrested on October 27th outside of a bar in Austin, Texas, a bar that he reportedly owns. He was described as being highly intoxicated and is facing 2 counts of assault, one for supposedly slapping the assistant manager in the face of the bar slash nightclub.
I kind of want to slap my assistant manager.
And
for those of you that don't know, that's my assistant manager.
And for reportedly punching the general manager in the face, a feeling that I can relate to as well. Wink, wink. And then, of course, once he was taken outside, there is TMZ video that you can watch that shows him belligerent outside, putting his friend in a headlock. And then there's even footage of Jared Padalecki up against a police car where he seems to be pulling out wads of cash and reportedly bribing the police officers not to arrest him. Now, Padalecki was arrested that night. His bail was set for $15,000, so of course he made bail very quickly. And good news is, even with the 2 counts of assault and a future court appearance, production on Supernatural is not expected to be halted in any way, so that's good news. Jon, any thoughts, comments, remarks about
the only thing I was thinking whenever I saw this, some of you, slight spoiler territory to an extent, Sam has gone, or Jared has been bad Sam before, and they kind of are alluding that to this season, so I kind of find the whole parallel of like Bad Sam and then Jared Padalecki kind of going a little crazy.
And it's one of those things where I didn't know if we should say this out loud. I didn't know if this is something we should talk about, kind of give away the secrets here, but I'm going to do it. I mean, look, for all of you out there who are wondering, you're thinking, oh, this doesn't seem, like the actor Jared Padalecki, something that he would do. He's never been in trouble. Look, the truth is this. The nightclub that he was at had to have been run by demons. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
The assistant manager and the general manager were clearly demons.
Possessed.
Yes, they were possessed. And Sam was just doing his job, but of course he can't let the general public know that. There would be an outbreak. So he was trying to fight his way through.
Yeah, because what a lot of people probably aren't realizing is we're in another episode of The French Mistake. It's part 2.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you see the video outside of him offering the police officers cash, that's because the police officers saw the possessed souls in the nightclub, and Sam was just trying to offer them money to not speak so that there wouldn't be public outrage. So that's all this is. So good work, Sam. Great job. I mean, just another Monster of the Week hunt that got done. So there's your answer, everybody. But now it takes us to our second news story. Our second news story, we're going into the video game realm here of pop culture, and that is that the highly anticipated video game Death Stranding from acclaimed video game director and creator Hideo Kojima releases Friday, November the 8th. Of course, this game stars Norman Reedus, who plays Daryl on The Walking Dead. And Norman Reedus has been in collaboration with Hideo Kojima since back when Hideo was with Konami, which he left back in 2015 while they were making the highly anticipated new Silent Hill game, which to this day is, just from playing the demo for it, was maybe the scariest game I've ever played, and that was just the demo, so it was very depressing when that game got canceled, when Hideo left Konami, and he began his own production company and own game company. And this, of course, is his first release from his own development team. The game is called Death Stranding. And ever since this game was announced back in E3 2016, from that point all the way up until now when we are hitting launch, most people are still scratching their heads trying to figure out what the heck this game is about, because if you've watched any of the trailers, any of the footage, it just looks batshit bonkers. Norman Reedus' character is in a weird sort of exosuit carrying a living fetus baby in a tube connected to him. There are these colossus-sized monsters and figures that are in the sky and in the clouds, and it just seems crazy. But it is highly anticipated. And, you know, when trying to break down this game, from what I've read, from what I understand, basically a cataclysmic event happened which killed off all wildlife, and what's left of society is sort of fragmented and broken apart. And in this game, you are trying to put society back together, and bring people back together as a whole. And also in this game, rain is your worst enemy and is deadly because rain causes time-altering or changing events. And inside the rain, there are these ghosts called the BTs, which are known as beach things, which are these historical figures or people from the past that are in the form of ghosts that want to kill off all the remaining humans. Now, right now, reviews across the board are extremely mixed, and most people, in terms of who do reviews, are saying this is going to be the most divisive video game of the year, maybe in years, because a lot of people predict it will be hated and a lot of people predict it will be loved. Right now, reviews are all across the board. Just taking one, for example, IGN, which one of the most notable video game review sites out there, gave it around a 6 and said that it is extremely repetitive. Every mission seems to be delivering goods from point A to point B, and the inventory management system is the most frustrating, they said, ever. And I've seen that a lot throughout reviews. I've heard that the action is sparse. I've heard that the world is beautiful, the graphics are beautiful, and it is scary and intense at the same time. So that's all over the board. So John, I mean, any excitement for Death Stranding? Is this a game you'll be grabbing?
It's not one that like I'm really looking forward to, that like I just can't wait to like get my hands on it, but I'm sure I will check it out. But yeah, I've been kind of seeing like the same thing. It just, the thing that scares me is that inventory, because I don't know if you guys have ever played Skyrim, but back in the day, like carrying too much stuff and you start running sluggish, and that's kind of what a lot of the things I saw is that you get weighted down, and which that plays a huge part in this game, yeah, because of like weather effects and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of a little concerning, because that's annoying, because I'm kind of like one of those, like, I just want to grab everything I can possibly have. Me too. And like,
yeah, and I think when I watch the trailers for this game, even the gameplay footage, to me it almost looks like something more I'd want to see as a movie than more than I want to play, almost. It seems like it's an interesting enough story that I want to watch it. So I don't plan on picking this up when it comes out. I think I'm going to watch a few streams of people playing it, and if it seems like something I really want to play, I'll grab it. But it almost just feels like something I want to watch. I don't know, but it should be a good game, I would think. I mean, Hideo Kojima, he's, of course, for those of you who don't know, he's most notably known for creating the Metal Gear series, which is one of the more beloved video game series in history. And there are a lot of cameos in this. Guillermo del Toro, Conan O'Brien has a cameo in this game. Mads Mikkelsen, who played Hannibal on the TV show Hannibal, and in was it Doctor Strange? Was he in the movie Doctor Strange? I forget. Was he the villain? I can't remember. He was in a superhero movie. I think it was Doctor Strange. But yeah, so there's a great cast in this game. Of course, Norman Reedus as well. So definitely something we're going to check out, but not sure if we're going to buy. So let us know in the comments if you plan on getting Death Stranding, if it's something you're looking forward to as well. So now moving on to our next news story, which brings us to the realm of Shudder, the all horror streaming service. They finally brought themselves a hit this season with the debut of the televised version, or streaming version, I should say, of Creepshow. Creepshow, for those of you who don't know, was a horror film that came out in the 80s. Stephen King, George Romero collaboration, in which it was an anthology film that played off different stories, all stemming from a horror comic book, and you got to watch these stories play out on screen. Well, Greg Nicotero, esteemed visual effects artist in the horror realm, brought this show to life, as well as others in collaboration, and it became a huge hit on Shudder. subscribers, their membership went up higher than it's ever been since Shudder has been around. And by the way, if you don't have Shudder and you're a fan of horror, make sure you get it. It is not expensive, and you can watch movies all the way from black and white films up to more recent hits, up to indie films you've never heard of.
Series and stuff. There's a lot.
Yeah, original series. And Creepshow now just finished its final episode in the last week with Tom Savini, our local visual effects hero in the horror realm. He directed the final episode. Now, myself, I have not watched the entire season yet. I've only watched a handful of episodes. John watched all of it, so I'm going to let him speak his opinion on it a little bit more. But the major announcement here, two things. One, because of the success of Season 1, Season 2 has officially been announced as being greenlit, so we will be getting a Season 2, which is exciting. And also, NECA, of course, the company that makes the best figures and models you'll see, not just in horror but in pop culture. They are going to be making a 7-inch tall figure, fully posable, of the Creeper from Creepshow, and it looks awesome. It comes out in May, so we're excited. I know John and myself will both be getting that figure when it comes out. But without further ado, I'm going to let John give his opinion on Season 1 since he's watched it all the way through, and maybe he'll give you an insight on what maybe his favorite episode was or which one you should definitely check out, if not all of them.
Yeah, right off the bat, I recommend watching all of them. I was blown away. If you guys caught our other videos that we did, our top 5 Stephen King adaptations, and Creepshow did make my list. So I was extremely excited whenever I saw that this was coming out, and as soon as an episode hit, I watched it. They were all amazing episodes. Yes, some really did stand out more than others. And like what I love about it is it's not your traditional like horror movies. It's not like vampires, werewolves. They did like cover some of that. It's not a slasher. It's what I expected scary stories to tell in the dark to be, to an extent. Like it has that like sitting at a campfire telling those stories, or if you ever read some of those old school horror comic books, it's that style of horror. It's original, it's different. Some of them, yeah, they're a little like crazy, but that's what makes it so cool. They're all different, original. A lot of them, if you watch the old Creepshow, they have nods to that. There's a lot of Stephen King references hidden throughout the episodes that aren't just straight blatant, like, hey, this is this. So they did a lot of cool little things like that to like get you to really kind of like pay attention. And as far as probably my favorite episode, I don't know why this guy, he really didn't care for it that much. I just loved the way they told it, and it's the one that stars the guy from Road Trip, the little skinny guy. He was also in Supernatural.
In the New Guy.
Yeah, the New Guy. That one, for whatever reason, I really enjoyed that one.
Good one, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. The Nazi, like the one where they're fighting Nazis and they're werewolves. I really enjoyed that one. There's a few things that I didn't really like in that episode because of like how they did the effects. That's the one thing about this. Majority of the effects are practical effects, and since they didn't have probably as big of a budget as they would have liked, some of the things fall a little short, or they took a little kind of shortcuts. Fully understandable. We'll see this next season. Yeah, since they'll have a bigger budget. I expect leaps and bounds in this next season. And like he said, the last episode with Tom Savini directing kind of did like a Loch Ness monster type thing, which was really cool. Did a really good job. The one thing I didn't really care for with it was the fact that it was Tom Savini directing. He did an amazing job directing it, don't get me wrong. But the story that was told really didn't give him the ability to kind of show his effects chops to an extent. The monster looked incredible, but that's literally the only thing that has effects is that monster. So I was kind of a little sad by that. I would have liked to see kind of like some old school Tom Savini effects, but I don't know. I'd like to see if they kind of do the Crate. I'd like to see that character come back.
Absolutely. Yeah, so if you guys haven't checked out Creepshow yet, definitely do. Definitely subscribe to Shudder. Our next news story is coming from the world of professional wrestling, WWE to be exact. I myself, huge wrestling fan, even though WWE, as we all know, for any of you who watch it, it's nowhere as good as it used to be. And
No.
hopefully the new competition out there makes them drive up what they do on a weekly basis, making it better. But the reason why we're bringing some WWE news on this episode is because this past week on Halloween, to be exact, WWE held one of its now annual events, Crown Jewel, that takes place in Saudi Arabia. They've been doing this for the last couple years, at least twice a year, and they've been getting a lot of criticism for it because there's a lot of controversy with Saudi Arabia, things that they do, the way their government is ran. And every time WWE has gone over so far, for those of you who don't know, women are not allowed to perform in public. In Saudi Arabia, there are a lot of restrictions, especially on how women can dress and all these things. So every time WWE has went over, the women superstars, the divas, were not allowed to go on the trip. Only the men were allowed to go over and perform. But that all changed on Halloween because for the first time ever, WWE broke barriers as they had a historic women's match. Now, the match itself was pretty basic, pretty simple. It featured two of their current stars, Natalya and Lacey Evans. But during this match, the emotions were running wild. You could see both performers crying before, during, and especially after the match. The fans, which I watched this show, it was extremely overwhelming and surprising to see how supportive they were, because I was worried, like, are they going to boo these women when they come out? How are they going to act? They were giving them standing ovations. You could tell it was something historical and could change the landscape of an entire country for, years to come. So that was really awesome to see, and I want to applaud WWE for being able to make that match happen. And just one other cool thing that WWE did during that show as a little side note, something I'm happy about, is they finally decided to put the WWE Heavyweight Championship, or as they call it now, the Universal title, on the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. And for those of you who don't watch WWE anymore, Bray Wyatt is probably the best character WWE has brought to the screen in years. He basically has two personalities when he's himself Bray Wyatt. He's kind of this just choppy, over the top, funny, almost like kids TV show host that just says really weird shit. But then he has the second personality where he turns into this fiend, this demon. He wears this very creepy mask. He comes out holding his a sculpture of his normal face, his head, like somebody decapitated his other personality and stuck a lantern in his mouth and stretched out his mouth. He has amazing theme music.
Who did that mask?
Tom Savini did that mask, by the way.
Yep, another tie into
our
hometown.
Yeah, and when he wrestles, the lights are all red in the arena. It's a really, really cool character, and I was worried that they're gonna, not use him the right way. But having him win the title on Halloween, another shout out to WWE for doing that. Hopefully, they'll allow him to go on a run as champion. But not to get too far off topic there. The main note was that they were able to have the first women's match in Saudi Arabia. And for our final bit of news today, I know this guy is extremely excited. This past week, BlizzCon was held, which of course is a convention held by the esteemed company Blizzard, who makes tons of PC console games. I'm sure any of you who play games know who Blizzard is or what they do. But their first announcement of their show, which of course in turn would be their biggest, is they finally revealed that Diablo 4 is happening. And not only is it happening, but it's been in development for quite some time now. And they even went as far as to show off a full-on gameplay trailer. Now, I've never played the Diablo games. This guy, his favorite game series of all time. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit more about what he feels after seeing that, and maybe just some bits of news he can give that he would be able to explain better than I could.
Alright, so me and my one buddy were talking about this, and we both said, take my money now. Like, here. I cannot wait for this game. There's, like he said, my all-time favorite game franchise, all-time favorite game is the Diablo 1, 2, and 3.
If they announced the game was $1,000, are you buying it?
Yeah.
There you go.
This game is everything to me. Like I said, all-time greatest game ever made. And my favorite in the series, as of right now, is Diablo 2. And they're comparing a lot of it to the grittiness of Diablo 2. and they're bringing back a character that I did have a lot of fun playing, and that is the Druid, which you get to see some of his gameplay in the trailer that they did. So you get to see the shape shifting and summoning animal familiars and stuff. So I'm excited to see that because my favorite character of all time was the Necromancer, which I'm hoping makes another return, which they'd be dumb not to. But the Druid kind of played the same way. You could play him as like a magic, like a summoner, the shape shifting. You could play him as a melee, so had a lot of depth. So I'm excited to see that. The other thing that looks really cool is the way that they're doing this. This is going to be an open world, but they're still going to have the ever-changing dungeons. They also are kind of doing something a little bit different. So if you play Diablo 3, once you get to a certain level, you're basically like a god tier character. Like the damage output and everything just gets to this extreme crazy levels too. A lot of people are a little worried about this. They're kind of dialing that back. They don't want to make the characters basically turn into gods. They want to have a little more of a difficulty instead of basically leveling up and then just going to hell mode 13 or above to try to like have something super difficult. They want to kind of have more of a depth to building the characters. They're bringing back kind of the skill tree that you saw in Diablo 2, which is exciting. They have mounts. They also, one thing that it sounds really simple, but if you watch the gameplay trailer, you'll see the Druid jump from a mountaintop up here down to the bottom, which is something completely different. They did bring a new engine, some new technology to this game, which I'm extremely excited. It looks so crisp, so amazing, and it's already getting some negative backlash because it's online only. But they're also bringing back PvP. They're bringing back trading. They're bringing back all kinds of things that I feel are necessity. And it's also going to be 2020. Like if you don't have online to play games, like I don't see how that's even like an issue.
Everything's
like,
online. Yeah.
I mean, it's gearing you more towards playing with other people. You can still play solo. You just have to have an online, and that's solely for the PvP. For the like the main thing that they tried to explain why that it's online only is it's such a huge world, and to basically populate that world and everything, it has to be online only. The other thing is the fact that they're doing the PvP arenas, and it's not, a lot of people are like, I don't want to be walking through the world and out of nowhere like a gang of people come up and steal all my stuff. It's not like that. It's going to be dedicated areas that you can basically do the PvP. You can interact. You can just be walking through the world and basically run into another like traveler, and you can join up with them. So there's a lot of cool little things. It's I don't think it's like stepping away from what we know of Diablo. I think it's just basically perfecting things that we love and adding a couple new elements, but still keeping that Diablo flavor. So like I seriously cannot like, no other game matters right now until this game comes out. I cannot express enough how much I love this series. I cannot. Oh my! Like when I saw this, like I've watched the gameplay trailer multiple times already. Like it's.
Yeah, and I told John that when it comes out, I'll be sure to get it. This will be the first Diablo I've ever played, so I'll be excited to do that as well. The only bad news is Blizzard did announce, they made a whole separate announcement because fans, of course, are clamoring over when are we going to get our hands on Diablo, and they said do not expect this game anytime soon. So odds are maybe next year, late next year, or possibly 2021. We'll see.
And then just real quick, I will make this extremely quick for you guys. This one does take place after Diablo 3, basically after the events, all the slaughtering from the heavens, from hell. Things kind of start to calm down a little bit. It's still a ravished landscape, and they didn't really reveal who it is or what it is. They just said that a legendary character makes a return. So we'll see who that actually is and what the actual story. Because that's another thing. Like it basically is a loot grinding hack and slash. But I've loved the lore, the story from it since Diablo 1 back in '95. So
yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like it's going to be a fun game. I'm excited to try it myself. Well, guys, that's it for today in terms of your Newsflash episode. Of course, if you enjoyed this episode, please don't feel shy to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, check out our Facebook page. We're
Diablo 4.
Diablo 4, and I'm sure
It's
that
the most important thing to take from this video.
The only thing to take from this video. But thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Of course, we'll be bringing you these Newsflash episodes weekly. So until you see us again, take care. There's a lot of content on the way. And of course, you've been watching Now Showing with
Jon
and Cam. We'll see you soon.